Smoky Mountains.
And what do you do?
I am a certified neuro coach and a certified health and life coach, and I work with women helping them to heal after domestic abuse.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you could join us today. And the reason she's here too is she's also coming back to our women's retreat. She was there last year in 2023 talking on worship. This year, she's talking on a new subject. Jennifer, do you want to tell them what you're sharing this year?
Yes, so I'm sharing a workshop called Renewed Restored Mind. And I'm really excited to share this stuff with all of you because it's been super helpful in my life and the lives of my clients as far as um, really kind of speeding up your healing journey. I hesitate to say that because healing is not something that happens quickly. It is a long process, but it's really been amazing.
That's awesome. And so we are so excited for a 2024 Women's Retreat. And for those watching in, maybe for the first time you're joining us and wondering what that is about, but it is a retreat where we bring experts and counselors and coaches from all over the nation to come and share their expertise with you and to help you in your healing process of overcoming abuse. We have one for childhood sexual abuse, also for domestic abuse, as well as a track for those who are people helpers. Those are those who desire to walk alongside those impacted by abuse. And so Jennifer will be leading our workshops. So on Friday and Saturday at 3 on Friday and 3:15 on Saturday, we will be having workshops. And workshops are a time to be interactive with what you're learning. So that is really fun, unique part of our retreat we started offering last year because we found that healing is not just a spiritual and soul process. It's a whole body process, both body, soul, and spirit. And so Jennifer's session will be incorporating both body, soul, and spirit to bring wholeness and healing to you. And that is what all of our workshops will be doing is you get to interact. So I'm looking forward to that and having her back. And this is our first interview with somebody that is a workshop speaker. So I'm excited that she's here to tell you a little bit more about her workshop and what you will experience at the retreat. Jennifer, can you tell me a little bit about your workshop? What will you be talking about?
So, I'm going to be talking about how our brains work and how we can learn some kind of basic foundational things about the way our brain works so that we can understand that in our healing process to help us maybe overcome some of the things that come up as obstacles, things that keep us stuck. Maybe we were doing great with our healing, then all of a sudden we feel like I'm just not making any progress, and maybe I'm kind of going backwards, going back to some old ways of relating or habits or whatever. And why is that? So learning a little bit about how our brain works and what's going on there. So that's some of what I'll be teaching.
That is awesome. Can you answer for me and tell me, because I know you mentioned sometimes we get stuck in our healing process.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we feel resistance and sometimes get stuck in our healing process?
Yeah. So just a quick nutshell. There's so much to this topic, but we're just doing a little nutshell today. So basically, our brains, the way that God created them, our brains' kind of number one job is to keep us alive. And if we're not alive, we can't do anything. So the brain sees something that's familiar and that we are used to as safe. And so on our healing journey, we're learning new things. We're learning new habits, new ways of relating to people, truth that maybe we all of a sudden are recognizing, I was believing a lie. So in that process, though, our brain is saying, wait a minute, that's not familiar to me. I haven't been doing that. I've never, acted on that truth before. What if something bad happens? And so our brain is actually trying to protect us from something it doesn't know. It feels like it's unsafe because it's unfamiliar. And our brain is not moral. It doesn't recognize healthy or unhealthy or truth or lies. And so that is the part of us that's our spirit and our mind. And so the way that all connects is really amazing. But as we learn truth and we begin to practice that, our brain is naturally going to resist it. And so recognizing that can really help you to say, okay, This is normal. There's not a problem with me. And then learning ways that you can overcome that.
Wow, that was really helpful to me because sometimes as survivors, I get really mad at myself when I find myself not getting I can't get my brain to think differently than what I know my spirit and soul is right or what it perceives as safe. And it's just like, it's so frustrating because you can try to heal your brain, but you can't really do it with your brain. I guess if I'm making any sense, like it just doesn't like talking to it or telling it to do it. And
Yeah.
so I'm excited about these modalities that you're going to be incorporating and using to help us. So can you tell us a little bit? I'm now extremely intrigued and curious. How do you help people rewire their brain and do this? Like, is this stuff you're going to be sharing in your workshop?
Yes. So in a workshop, I can do kind of a nutshell again because, I work with clients over weeks and months. So the actual process is a lot more detailed and in depth, but I can give kind of a foundational thing that people can use, on their own, or even if they already have a coach or counselor to be asking for their help with these steps. So basically, I'll be giving you some foundational steps, and those would be things like uncovering the lies. And so, just another little piece of brain science, 80 to 90% of our decisions and our actions actually are coming from our subconscious beliefs. So those are beliefs that were wired in childhood, in relationships, in really anything in our life that's been repeated over time. And that's how a neural pathway gets wired in, is the repetition over time. And there's a lot in the brain science with that, is why is that happens, but that's how God created that to occur. And it's something that happens with everything. So an example would be when we're kids and you learn how to ride a bike. In the beginning, you're like, what am I doing? And you're trying to learn and you're falling and you're having trouble. And so you keep repeating it until eventually you're good. And you just jump on your bike and you don't even think about what you're doing. And that's because your brain wired in a neural pathway, because it recognized the repetition. So once it's a neural pathway,
Oh no.
did you lose me?
Yes, you froze for a minute.
Okay.
Once we recognize the neural pathways where we stopped at.
Okay. So once we recognize those neural pathways, we can say, okay, wait a minute, is this true or not? And that's what we're doing in our healing journey, is starting to examine, what was I believing? So it's really important to figure out what those beliefs were, because that's what keeps pulling us back. We feel like we're stuck. We feel like we're backtracking. It's because of those subconscious beliefs. So we're going to talk a little bit about that foundation of recognizing. We've got to get to those and recognize them. And then once we recognize them, then we're going to start refuting them with truth. And then there's a whole process with rewiring in a new neural pathway with that truth. And so it's a process over time, because like I said, those neural pathways are wired in with repetition over time. So that's a really tight nutshell of the process.
That's incredible. I love this. I geek out on this one.
Yeah.
Hearing other people share about this is amazing. So I have a question. Is this why we sometimes feel strong emotions that pull us back into old patterns, even after we've learned like maybe new truths?
Yes. So we can learn a lot of truth, and that's excellent. We want to learn lots as we begin healing and as we continue healing. But that's happening in our prefrontal cortex, the cognitive part of our brain. And that's good, but we need to get that from there to the subconscious, because the subconscious, again, is what's driving most of our decisions and our actions, which then show up in the results that we're seeing in our life. So we have lots of truth that we're learning. It's up here in our prefrontal cortex. We've got to get that to the subconscious, where we want to refute the lies and remove them, and replace them with that truth, so that now we don't just know it in our head. And some people use the term of, I know it in my head, but I don't feel it in my heart. So you could think of that as the heart is your subconscious, where you actually really have embraced it and you're actually living it out and implementing it. And so the emotions that come up are thoughts trigger our emotions. So those old subconscious beliefs based in the lies are what are triggering the emotions. So we might be thinking about this new truth. Okay, I know that I want to practice these healthy boundaries, but our subconscious is saying, no, that's not safe. You know, you're going to get punished if you practice this boundary. And no, you're supposed to please other people. And so because of those old beliefs, you get the fear, you get the guilt, those feelings are coming up. And so it's fighting with the new truth that you are trying to implement. So to recognize where all that's coming from is so important so that we can say, okay, I want to switch this around so that the truth is now that neural pathway that's giving me the emotions of peace, that I'm doing the right thing, confidence, you know, whatever it is, so that we can actually implement the truth that we are learning.
Wow. I'm blown away. That's so good. And that helps, I feel like, too, heal us and remove so much shame in our
Mhm.
lives because we're
Mhm.
like, why do we keep making this choice? Or why can't I think differently? Or why do I get so excited about my boundaries? I do. I try to rehearse them over and over again. I'm like, I'm going to say this next time. I'm going to do this, you know, in a friendship or whatever. And then you chicken out and you're like, why do I do this every single time? I'm like, what you're saying is making perfect sense to me.
Mhm.
It's just like then we get frustrated with ourselves and we're like, what's wrong with us? But it's like that just
Mhm.
causes the process to continue to snowball. So, oh,
Mhm.
I can't wait for your session. I'm like, sign me up for this workshop on Friday at 3:15, y'all. So I also have another question. Let's bring the Lord into this. And the Lord obviously made our brain and gave us this incredible
Mhm.
knowledge of how this works. So let's talk about this from a spiritual perspective. How does
Mhm.
this work when we take every thought captive and renew our minds from a brain science perspective?
Yeah, so I love how brain science and God's word always match up. If it's good science, it matches God's word. So, looking at some scriptures, and since I've been on this journey of the neuro coaching, there's been a lot of scriptures that have really like lit up to me in a different way because I'm like, wow, that's exactly what is happening in our brain. So when we talk about taking every thought captive, that would be related to the part where I was sharing about we've got to uncover those old lies. And we don't want to just bury them with truth. Like, I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to bury it. I'm going to, you know, push that away because it's still going to be there. So
Mhm.
taking it captive, and Dr. Caroline Leaf had a great illustration for this. It's like taking it and putting it in a box where you're containing it, and then you're going to examine it and say, wait a minute, is this truth? So you're taking that thought captive and you're going to examine it, and then you just determine this doesn't match up with God's word. This is not true. And so now I'm going to refute that with truth. So that is kind of a brain science way of describing how you take a thought captive. To One of the powerful ways to do this is through writing, like pen to paper. Actually, using your hand, pen to paper helps when you're processing things. That's a good way to pull things up out of your subconscious. And then when you see them on paper and you're like, whoa, I can't believe I was thinking that, take it captive and begin to examine, is this true? What is the truth that refutes it? So that would be a little bit of the taking it captive. And then renewing our minds is that rewiring process. We'll be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And how do you actually do that? So that meditating and repeating the truth over time is going to wire in a new neural pathway of truth that you can now live from. And that's the renewing process. So that's a little nutshell again.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And I love what you talk about the whole body because writing the hand coordination incorporates the whole body. And I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, it is different versus typing and writing. Is
Mhm.
that correct?
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
it's definitely different. There's something that happens with that, and I don't know exactly what it is, but and then the other part of the whole body is speaking it aloud. Your
mm,
brain responds to your voice more than anything else. Like, it
really?
pays attention. Yes. So for you to speak out loud the truth that you are renewing your mind with is very powerful.
So when I say negative things to my brain too, that's
Mhm.
really bad. I'm like, why, Lauren, why can't you get this together? Come on, go faster. And then I'm like, maybe I should be nice to myself.
Yep.
Oh, wow, this is so fascinating. I could talk to you all day about this. I love this conversation, but y'all get to learn more if you come to the retreat and you get to come to her session. It will be during the workshop time on Friday at 3 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be really awesome. She's going to be incorporating some whole body techniques into her workshop too with the writing. And you'll have chance, as she said, to share if you want to share. And that's really cool too. And you told me that because sometimes when we write stuff down, we just want to share. Sometimes we do not want to share it, but sometimes we do. Like we want somebody to witness and bear what we are saying, or we can't get past this thought. And just having somebody else be like, no, I'm going to speak truth over you, or just validating the pain or validating what we've been through is extremely, extremely healing. So this is going to be
Amen.
a really powerful, powerful workshop. I'm excited about this.
Yes, I'm excited too.
Yes, so if you have not signed up yet, you will find a link at the top in the post to sign up for and register for the retreat. We are currently full on scholarships. So we have already, we're working through those, and people will begin to hear in the next 5 weeks. We're releasing the batches if you've received a scholarship or not, if you've applied. But as you know, we are also in a fundraiser. We cannot give those scholarships without the generosity of our donors who have partnered with us to say, I want a woman to be able to attend this retreat that cannot otherwise due to financial restraints. And I want her to be able to know more of God's love and to know that they are beloved, because even this session points to who we are. It's beloved, and rewiring our brains to understand that and to expedite our healing, to give a woman these tools that maybe can't even afford therapy. That's coming to this retreat, that gives her, or coaching, gives her the opportunity to learn tools in her tool bag so she can go home and expedite her healing. And who knows how God can use that. Talking to so many women who've received scholarships, many of the women I talked to, I shouldn't say most, but so many of them are so touched by that. And their lives are so impacted. They tell me stories of how they became a better mother, how they made friends, and how their friends got together, and now they're advocates and they're support group leaders. And God is just using them in amazing, amazing ways. And I just think, oh, wow, it's all because of you, that donor that just gave, whatever little bit it was that you gave, or maybe you supported them all the way through the retreat. You now not only impacted their lives, but you're impacting several other women's lives because of their lives being so touched and transformed by this. So please partner with us. I will drop a link in the comments to be able to donate to the scholarship fund if you would like. And for those who are watching, wondering about scholarships, like I said, you will know within the next 5 weeks if you have been approved for a scholarship or not. And so we're excited to see everybody there. Please register. We are looking forward to it. It's going to be in Lake Junaluska, May 2nd through the 5th. It's going to be amazing time, amazing weather. I'm praying for that. And I'm looking forward to it so much. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us. And you do go by Jenny, correct?
Yes, either one's fine.
Okay. Well, if y'all see her at the retreat, y'all can call her Jenny. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great day.